Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to Supporter Spotlight number 23. This one's been a little bit delayed actually because of course I had the 5 or 6 days off and then Stellaris landed in my lap. It would have been really nice if Stellaris had come along when I was having those days off, but alas it was not to be. So I've been playing a lot of Stellaris in between doing other things. Not that I have been doing a lot of other things aside from playing Stellaris, because it's quite engrossing. But there will be a proper separate Stellaris video. I'm not just going to talk about that the entire time. So this is Game Glitch, and he is in a KV2 platoon, and it's really good matchmaking for a KV2 platoon, except this is not maybe going to be the game you think it's going to be. Both Game Glitch and the viewer, supporter that we have coming up after this, Rambunctious Rat, which is an excellent name, they're both newcomers to this particular series, although Rambunctious Rat actually has been supporting me for a while. It's the first replay he's sent me. Game Glitch, however, I think is a much newer supporter, so it's always nice to see new faces. However, he does a thing. This is why we've got free cam for the first half of his replay, because he does this a lot in the first half of this replay, and it was a little bit distracting. I think it was just out of boredom, because he does stop doing it once the action really starts to kick in, but it just was a bit too distracting. So yeah, normally I try and avoid just having the free cam because you miss information maybe. I mean, he's already done his first bit of damage, for instance, which we didn't really get to see very clearly, but it was just, I don't know, it was one of those times where needs must. So one of the platoon mates is down already. The box tank is definitely down there. He's already claimed 2 kills. There's actually quite a formidable enemy force down there. Oh, I'm not even going to lie, this is like my 10th attempt at recording. It's just been one of those days when sometimes I just sit down and I record and I go and just do it all in one take. And other times it's like this and it takes a lot of tries. Anyway, so his other platoon mate is now dead and he's rapidly losing allies because that T-67 on the hill is in a perfect position to just wreck those tanks that were taking cover behind the rock there. This is why taking that hill is quite important, because although there is cover on the lower ground against the sort of the north and south sides of the pass, if you get up on the hill you can ignore that cover, and that's exactly what the T-67 was able to do. So it's only really Game Glitch and this T-34-85 that are left alive at this point. And he's not landed a lot of hits himself so far. He's gotten 600, nearly 700 damage, which is not too bad, but given the rate of fire on this thing, he's going to have to do a lot more than that if he's going to walk away from this. He takes his first hit himself, and he got a bit lucky earlier on because he was sat still for a long time and artillery did not focus him, so that was definitely lucky. But this is the point where he's going to need even more luck just because of the sheer number of enemies facing against him. So he's about to take aim at this very unfortunate Hetzer. Yes, talk about overkill. Now the Hetzer had pretty terrible matchmaking. Oh, and there's a derp shell from the OI, so okay, somebody's paying attention. Yeah, the Hetzer had pretty terrible matchmaking. There was also a Covenanter on each team. Now both teams have actually got tier 5 scouts. You know the matchmaking is rough when you have worse matchmaking than the scouts on your team. The scouts basically just had regular tier 5 matchmaking. And, well, the tier 4s had regular matchmaking for tier 4 as well. It was really terrible matchmaking because most of each team is tier 5 and tier 6. So, there is actually, I mean, having said about terrible matchmaking, there's a Matilda on his own side, which is, we're going to see a bit more of him later on maybe, but for now, he's stayed alive by dint of not really going very far from the base. And to be fair, he is in a Matilda, which is hideously slow, but still. He doesn't really, we don't really see more of him until later, but he is actually going to survive this match. The OI on the enemy side, by the way, has got a team kill, and there we go. I don't know what that KV2 was thinking. That's actually his second kill now, and that KV2, the enemy KV2, I mean, they've basically got the same reload if they're both fully upgraded and using a gun rammer. So why he would pop out in the same place and not expect to just be finished off by Game Glitch, I do not know. So the OI is moving up. I mean, they've whittled down the support, and we're back to Game Glitch's proper point of view now. And although this maybe looks like it's a little risky, actually the OI's intent was to take out that bishop. So he's down, however he then gets taken out himself by the remaining RT, the M44. The box tank, meanwhile, the friendly box tank has turned up to help take some of the strain, and although they've stabilised this flank, it's not looking that great. It's 5 versus 4. The enemy team still have both their artillery, and the scout in particular could be a problem, the little leopard. So, yeah. Now, of those artillery, one of them is a Lefebvre with 2 kills, and the Hummel actually is the one that killed off his teammate. So, both dangerous in their own way. I mean, the Lefebvre with the rate of fire is particularly nasty. And, oh, hello, there's the enemy box tank. Stalin! Oh, Stalin helpless! There we go, there we go. Oh, the hand of Stalin saves the day. And, well, that was ridiculous. It was. He acknowledges it was ridiculous, and his team thinks it was ridiculous, and his enemies think it was ridiculous because it was ridiculous. And that's what the KV2 is, generally speaking. It's ridiculous. You could probably do exactly the same thing with OI, but I don't know. I think the OI is just a different beast. Sometimes comparisons are made between the two in particular because of those guns. But I still think the OI is more problematic just because of its nature. The armour on the KV2 is a lot easier to deal with. It's still okay when you're top tier. If you're angling smart, then okay, sure. But it's a big slab-sided turret, so it's a lot easier to deal with this without having to just load skill rounds. And with OI, that's just not possible. Now, they've been spotted by that Leopard scout. And, well, there's still a Wolverine somewhere. They don't know where he is exactly, but the biggest threat right now is artillery, and that has to be the Lefebvre that's firing at him. Then the Wolverine pops into view. Yes, he had managed to flip himself. So well done. Not only did they have a team kill, and oh, well, that's their box tank that just got derped from full health. What is it about box tanks and being derped by HE shells? Anyway, that gives him a chance to take out the Hummel. But yeah, not only did the enemy OI team kill, but also the enemy team had a Wolverine that had actually managed to flip himself. So, yeah, in reality, this game was 13 versus 15 from the very start, and still it's this close. Even so, it is this close. So the Leopard with APCR, if the Leopard loads APCR, could end him. He doesn't have a lot of health left now, 24. The Lefebvre, the remaining artillery, like I've said, very fast firing, but it doesn't have any splash radius at all. So it has to land direct hits, otherwise it's not going to do damage. So it's basically like the old unnerfed Burt. It is very fast firing, it is very fast aiming, and in the right hands it can be overpowered. I mean, apart from anything else, it's got 400 meters view range. You can literally stick optics on it and you'll probably have the best view range of anything at tier 5. And then this happens. Now, he takes out the scout, which was a lucky shot because he was on the move, and his luck is about to get even... This is just getting absurd now. This is the rate of fire in action and the lack of splash in action, and that artillery driver had to be getting so frustrated because just the sheer amount of RNG in those 3 shells alone. Tracked 3 times. Game Glitch is now down to 15 health, but that Lefebvre just couldn't quite land the shot, and it wasn't his fault, it was just RNG. Because that's the nature of artillery. That is artillery in a nutshell. It's come down to this. And he needed to get that kill. He needed to kill Game Glitch to actually be in with a chance. Not that I think he would, because there's still the M44 and the Matilda left alive. But, yeah, no, the RNG was not with him. So not only did Game Glitch get that ridiculous on the move shot even against the box tank, but he got incredibly lucky with that artillery as well. Those 3 shots in a row, because that's just how Artie rolls. Now, I did mention the view range is good. Well, he's just spotted Game Glitch without getting spotted himself. He's got to be fairly close. I mean, I've said it has got a 400 meter base view range, but this is close enough that, well, it's at this end of the cap. He's not going to be spotting from a distance. So there we go. It comes down to the last shot. Game Glitch actually takes the time to sit and aim, and there we go. So I did say it wasn't quite going to be the KV2 game you maybe thought it would be. We did have some ridiculous shots, but given that it was a KV2 platoon, you might have expected this to just be a straightforward, you know, driving forwards and derping everything in the face ruffle stomp, but it was not that at all. So we can look at the scores and see that he actually finished with over 3,000 damage, nearly 3,100 damage, and 6 kills, so that was a top gun. He got an absolutely ridiculous amount of luck in that game. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And he did keep his head. He kept driving forwards in the right at the right times. But in terms of artillery, well, artillery could have ended him, and it was just sheer RNG that it didn't. So all in all, I think that was a fairly amusing KV2 game, and hopefully Game Glitch will keep sending me things in future. Next we come on to Rambunctious Rat, as I mentioned, and he's going to be playing the Warspite. So it's another tier 6 machine, but we've jumped over to World of Warships, obviously. Now the Warspite, I've actually not had that long myself, and I can tell you it's slow, the armour's not that great at all, but the guns are pretty accurate for a battleship. However, they're also relatively short-ranged, so you're somewhat in the position as you are with the American battleships up till tier 7, in that sometimes getting close enough to the enemies to use your guns is a problem. Now it does come with a spotter plane, which is invaluable, but there are times when you really do struggle with that gun range in particular. However, it helps if, as you get into the range of an enemy battleship, where they just decide to beach themselves, so that's quite nice. The other thing I should mention is that the turret turn time is pretty low, but again, that's like the American battleships. It's 60 seconds, and actually you look at things like the New York and the New Mexico, and they're not far off that at all. So it's not like it's unduly bad in comparison to the American battleships, and it maybe tells us that the Brits will be somewhat like the Americans in that regard, but the Warspite is, I mean, a lot of the lower tier battleships and the mid tier battleships, they will be, because they're essentially sort of World War I ships that were modernised and saw service in World War II, they probably will be the same flavour because they were built around the same doctrines. Anyway, he finishes off that Congo, who had very unwisely run aground, broadside in front of a whole lot of enemies, and so that's one less enemy battleship with a lot of range to contend with to actually have to worry about. So next up he's going to try some shots against this Budioni, and he may or may not turn into them. Sometimes it's a bit of guesswork, especially with cruisers, and it's entirely possible to guess wrongly, but in this case it looks like he's going to get some hits, and there we go. That was not bad actually. He got an incapacitation and 2 pens for another 7k. Now I will maybe point out, with the most recent patch of Warships, which this is a game from, the minimap mod that tells you the labels and the last position markers seems to just not be working anymore, and they did announce some changes to mods and changes to the way, I guess, that the client side handles certain data, so that some mods just aren't really working anymore. Now the damage counter still is, which is nice, but in terms of even just not having the minimap labels, I mean, I can understand possibly not allowing people to have last position markers. Personally, I have no problem with it. I actually find it incredibly useful. I think everyone should have access to it, as they do in World of Tanks. But in particular, for not even least just because when I'm doing these replays, talking about what's going on, it's really useful to be able to look at the minimap and see which ships are where. It's just unfortunate that that isn't in the game. It would just be really nice to have minimap labels, even if there were no last position markers. But sadly, no. So it's just pushing up, basically. I should also, when I do these, it's like, okay, I've got this list of things I want to mention, and then sometimes I forget, and then it kind of occurs to me when I'm halfway through talking about something else. But yes, another thing I wanted to point out is that this is a rarity for a Warships replay, in that I've basically edited nothing out apart from the first something like 2 minutes. It wasn't even that long, I don't think, because he didn't have to go that far before he started encountering the enemy or getting into range of the enemy. So yeah, this is going to be completely unexpurgated. It's just going to be more or less action from start to finish. And talking of action, yes, he's caught the attention of the enemy aircraft carrier. Now this thing does turn pretty well. I mean, it's got lots of advantages to go against the disadvantages of being slow and having a terrible turret turn time and not particularly great armor. One of the advantages is it does turn in the water pretty well. It's a nimble machine for its speed. And again, that's like the American battleships. Now, he's not noticed he's flooding, or maybe he is... no, there we go. He was waiting for the dive bombs to come in. So he has actually absorbed a fair whack of damage from that. But that was actually very good discipline there, waiting until the dive bombers had made their drop and he'd actually caught on fire before he hit the repair. So he did lose some hit points out of that, but he's actually then been able to get a lot of them back through using the repair function. And there's another kill. So that was actually it seemed like a bit of a hastily taken shot, but obviously his aim was true. So that's a second kill. Very nice. And of course, low health enemy, so therefore it was a citadel. Of course, that's just how this game likes to go. He's almost in secondary range of this Clemson now, it seems like, and the secondary's on the Warspite. Again, another good feature of this ship. And if you've got the captain skills, I think you can maybe even get some equipment that helps buff secondaries. It can be quite potent, actually. You have to be broadside to get the full use of your secondaries, and that's risky when you're around destroyers. But there are times when it will save you, and it's more something I found useful in my higher tier Japanese battleships, which do have very good secondaries. The Izumo and the Yamato both have excellent secondaries, and the Yamato secondaries you can get out to almost 10 kilometers range. But even the Nagato, yeah, the Nagato's got some very good secondaries as well. That's another one that's known for its excellent secondary batteries. So he's got a pair of destroyers ahead of him. The Clemson is just hiding around that island, waiting for... Well, I mean, he knows the drop is coming, but he's basically trying to ambush Rambunctious. And that's not a terrible plan when you're in your tier 4 destroyer, especially a Clemson, in this kind of situation. But because Rambunctious knows it's coming, he's killed his speed, basically. And so the Clemson was just assuming he would keep going forward, and Rambunctious has managed to completely throw him off. And it's almost, when you're in a battleship facing destroyers at close range, it almost becomes a matter of just playing mind games with the enemy and trying to fool them into thinking you're going one way and then killing your speed or turning or whatever. You want them to make the drop, and then you want to be able to do something unexpected, basically. What is completely dangerous is if you don't know that they're there, and that they then just are able to take advantage of that and make a drop on you unawares. However, in this case, that wasn't. He knew they were there, and so being forewarned is really by far the best way to deal with enemy destroyers at close range. So again, he waited a while before he repaired, took more flooding damage, but maybe he was just wary of more torpedoes from the Clemson, which I think has a reasonably fast reload. He got the Clemson kill, although the Farragut was actually claimed by somebody else. I don't think his secondaries actually got either of those guys, although they will have done some damage. But now it's just a matter of, again, just pressing forward. And this entire game has just been slowly pressing forward and shooting everything that gets in his way. And some games are like this in a battleship. You just press the W key, go forward at your maximum speed, which in the case of the Warspite isn't very much, and just murder everything. And those games are always nice, but sadly somewhat uncommon in my experience. Oftentimes things get a bit more messy than that. So here come those torpedo bombers again, and his repair is fortunately about to come off cooldown, but he's got a double fire going. Now this time the carrier driver is not making nearly such... I mean, his first drops were okay, but this time round, maybe because the island's in the way, he really struggled to get a good drop there. And so Rambunctious was able to dodge both of those with relative ease. He's also got incoming Nuremberg torps, but again, because he was actually dodging the airdrop torps, he really had no difficulty in actually dodging those. So that was, you know, easy peasy. He's down to about, what, a third health, a quarter health, something like that. He's about to get his repair party back, but if he gets set on fire by these cruisers as well, his damage control is nearly a minute from coming back, so that might be a problem. However, he takes out what is possibly the more dangerous opponent, and, well, he goes for the low health opponent, because you do. And so that's another kill, and he's actually gotten now 5 kills, so that's a Kraken unleashed. He's also got a close quarters expert, which actually happened when he was firing against those destroyers. And of the enemy team, well, there's not a lot left at this point. He's killed almost half of them. 5 out of 12 isn't bad, so if he gets this for attacker, then there we go, and another citadel. So that's 6 kills, and all that's left is the carrier, who's desperately trying to take him out. And he really, I don't think this carrier's been going for anybody else but Rambunctious this entire game. And again, that first drop, not so good, but he's trying for a cross drop this time, and he might actually land a hit from this other salvo, the second salvo. And oh yeah, okay, it was sort of inevitable. He wasn't quite going to be able to get the ship round in time to get through that gap. Dive bomb has come in as well, but he again held the repair party, so that's fine. He's actually he's not in any danger of sinking. Then with that final salvo, well, that was quite a nice result. So that was actually a Confederate, and he got Dreadnought at the end of that as well. So that was a nice collection of medals. It was a very nice game where he just drove forwards and blapped everything in the face, and for his efforts, he got quite a lot of credits and quite a lot of XP. I mean, it's not the highest XP game. 1600's pretty good, but of course, you can get ridiculous amounts of XP in warships compared to World of Tanks. It's not impossible to get a 3000 XP game, so this was pretty good. Damage-wise, I mean, it wasn't actually that much. I think it was just the collection of medals and just the sheer number of kills that ended up netting him quite so much. And this was actually his daily as well, so yeah, it was a nice result, a very nice result indeed. So the Warspite, when it works, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it really doesn't. Sometimes it's like the American battleships, and you're just too slow to get to the party. It especially suffers in Tier 8 games, I have to say. But that's, well, maybe not so true of, say, the New Mexico, but yeah, the Warspite definitely. When you get Tier 8 matchmaking, and it's like North Carolinas and Tier 8 carriers and Tier 8 destroyers and Tier 8 cruisers, and I don't know why I'm listing the different ship types, but I am. But yeah, that becomes a lot more painful. So hopefully you've enjoyed this pair of replays, and if you have, you can leave any comments below. You can hit the like button, you can sub to my channel if you aren't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.